Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. It is Sat Chat. This is deja vu. Have you ever heard the phrase third time's a charm? Guess how many times I've tried to record Sat Chat. The first time I was interrupted because I finally gave up waiting for my son to come home from school today. I knew he was, it was his last day of school, senior year, and I decorated the porch, and I'd done it all in his school colors, which is orange and black, because their mascot is the witches. And it was all set, and I rushed to decorate because I knew he only had one class today, so I didn't know if he was coming right home after class or what. And so I wanted to surprise him. So when he came home, he'd be like, "Oh, I'm so loved and supported," He probably doesn't care, but I just wanted to, something. His last day of school. And so I'm like watching, I have this app on my phone. You probably hear it ding in videos sometimes. It's Life 360, and this isn't like a plug or a sponsorship or anything for it, although I do recommend it if you've got teenage drivers. It's nice because you can see where they are, how fast they're going. They're not in a ditch somewhere. It's just really, it puts your mind at ease. Or if I'm usually to bed or before anybody. So, sometimes I go to bed before Jack's home. And so if I wake up, Jason stays up. And it's not that late, just I'm an early bird. And I can, if I wake up at midnight or something, I can check my phone. Oh, he's home. He's at home. Okay, everyone's home. All my chickens are roosted. I can go back to sleep. So anyway, I'm stalking that app because I'll see him driving around town. I'm like, oh, okay. I think he's coming home. So I'm I'm watching the window. Oh no, he's going down now. He's going to see his friend, Alex. Okay. Oh, I think he's coming home. I check in the app and I'm no, Lindsay, you need to get your Sat Chat filmed. He's going to be going right to practice because at this time it's 4 o'clock, and he's, I can see he's gone fishing with his friends, and it's just, it's okay. He's not going to come home before practice. So I come down here to film Sat Chat. Well, 18 minutes in, and I hear the dog going crazy upstairs. I'm like, oh, that little stinker is home. Shoot! I missed to see the look of joy on his face. I'm sure it was something like, oh, my mother loves me, or something. It's probably more of an eye roll and oh my God, but still, I didn't get to see it. But anyway, he did like it. He said it was nice. And I should be actually at a tennis game right now. Not really a tennis game, but more the team is just gonna kind of have an end of the year, just gonna play tennis against other teammates and just kind of have fun and have pizza and all that stuff. Probably do some end of year awards. They did have the senior night for tennis already, so I didn't miss that. Jason and I were both there for that. The girls have a softball game, and it's a scrimmage. It's not. It's just for fun. They're playing. The varsity's playing first in the JV against a team up north, and I'm like, well, I'll go to Jackson's tennis thing. You go to that. So I'm all ready to go. I told Jackson, he's like, you should probably take 2 cars because you'll be playing for quite a while, and you'll probably just want to stay for the first half of it or whatever. I'm like, that's no problem, because we have the truck here. And so I walk the dog so that she's not just left home all alone for too long. And I like to walk her before I go somewhere. That way I know that she's gone to the bathroom and whatnot, and she's gotten some exercise. And so I come home, and he's already left, obviously. And I go to get the truck keys, and there's no truck keys. So Maisie had a copy of the keys on her keychain. Lila has a copy on hers, but I knew Jason had taken the truck this morning and dropped her off at school, so I would have the truck tonight because Jason was taking the Jeep up to Howland. And sadly, he forgot he had the truck key, and so I had no keys to go anywhere. Of course, there was keys for the car and the van and the Jeep. No truck. The one vehicle that I have access to there was no keys, so I felt bad, and I texted Jackson. He's like, it's no big deal, Mom, really. It's no problem. Don't worry about it. I felt kind of bad. I still feel bad. It's mom guilt. You're never prepared for that. You're not prepared for that when you have kids. How guilty you were going to feel and how incompetent you're going to feel. But boy, man, 3rd time's a charm. Okay, so what else? What else is going on? Not much. Not much. and 3 times? Took me 3 times to film this, and I don't have anything to say. It's crazy. I did make a list. I have to actually get back to my list because I've been very excited to hear from my friends Cindy and Tracy, who are at the Heirloom show. I just snuck a peek. I just snuck a peek at the chat because I want to see what they got. I'm very nosy. So usually I go to the the stamp show in West Springfield, Massachusetts. That's the closest one that comes to our house, and it's still 5 hours away, so it's a long drive. And I usually teach. I didn't teach the last time I went, which was 2019, because I was just kind of like burnt out at the end of my rope. I had such a busy winter and spring, and I needed a couple days. I'm like, I just need a couple days off. And and I kind of knew it had been building, and when they asked me to teach in January, I'm like, I don't think I can. I don't think I can commit to it. I am so burnt out and I have so much to catch up on that I think by the time I hit June, I should be caught up on everything, and I'm just going to need a couple days. And it was great, and I really had a nice time. Last year, obviously, it was canceled, and when they asked me to teach this year, they weren't absolutely sure it was going to happen because everything was just played by ear. One of the big struggles that I'm sure you can imagine, one of the struggles I have with teaching is I usually have a pretty big group, and it's in a big convention hall. It's not like in a room. So you're in this big warehouse basically with the show going on. So there's a certain level of just noise. And then I don't have a microphone and I'm teaching, and it's hard for people to hear. So I try to slow down and talk as slowly and as clearly as I can. But still, you know, there's a lot of people, and I have to, you know, talk slowly and repeat, and a lot of people can't hear. So I'm like, to do that with a mask, with people 6 feet apart, we usually have people like packed in, and it's, I mean, they have enough space to do their work, but you know, it's definitely, they're definitely pretty close together. So I'm like, I don't think I can teach to people so spread out with a mask on in that noisy room. So I said I was going to pass this year. Plus I didn't know if I'd be able to make it down, because if traveling to Massachusetts was going to require a quarantine when I got back, I couldn't do it because I would miss Jackson's graduation, and that's too important. So his graduation is next weekend, not this weekend, and I wasn't actually sure of the date too. So I was like, is it going to be on the same weekend, you know? And then when I found out it was the next weekend, I'm still like, I don't think I can't project with the mask on. And I mean, they talked about in the past getting a mic set up because of the classes are so large, but which I'm so lucky. I mean, I'm so lucky that so many people want to learn from me, but I didn't think it would be a good experience. And, you know, I don't want people to waste their money if it's, you know, not going to be able to hear me, you're not going to be able to, you know, yeah. So anyway, so I'm like, yeah, I'm going to stay home and be available. But ironically, I got all the prom dresses hemmed last weekend. I found a great tutorial for doing an invisible hem. It was, I guess, a catch stitch. I'm not very, I don't do much hand sewing except for like kind of mending on the fly for stuff that I can't put on my sewing machine. And I'm not very accustomed to sewing silky fabric, so I knew it was going to take me some time, and it did. And even though I knew it was going to take me a lot of time, and I anticipated it, and I planned for it, it still took me twice as long. I was thinking Maisie's dress would probably take about 3 hours, and I was thinking 3 hours from vacuuming, because I sewed up in my bedroom where I have the most space. So I wanted to vacuum, make sure, because we have cats and a dog, and I wanted to get all the tumbleweeds up so we didn't have hair on the dress. And I had to iron everything, and then press up the seam, and then learn how to hem it by hand, because I'm like, I can't put this on the machine. It's got this thick horsehair braid interfacing at the bottom, and I can't cut it off because I was afraid I wouldn't know how to put it back in. And also I was afraid that like to sew it on my machine, and I'm like, geez, I'm not much of a hand stitcher, and I'm worried about that material. So I watched many tutorials, and then I found one that they were doing an invisible stitch, and they were just using a really wide hem, and I'm like, well, I could use that, just kind of like fold it up, press it, fold it up again, and then do the invisible catch stitch, and it came out beautifully. It has that same nice structure, it looks great. And then I did the lining, and I actually did one of the tips from a viewer where I pinned it up and I sewed it, and then I trimmed it, then I folded it and sewed it again. But I think by that time it was a couple hours in, and I was just and I took a break. And went for a long walk in between the hand stitching of the hem, because my eyes were going cross. It was like black thread on black satin, because I didn't want the thread to show, obviously. And I was just like, man, my eyes are toast. I need a break. And you know, and of course you're nervous because you don't want to ruin expensive dresses. And but it looks great. The lining, thank goodness it's the lining, because I kind of rushed it a bit. I knew it wasn't going to show, but still I was like, okay, I'm not doing Lila's dress today because that is going to show and I need a break. So the next day I did hers, and it was more of like Maisie's dress was a satin, but it was more of like a less silky, more, not to say crunchy, but more structured or something. It just wasn't as slippery. And Lila's dress was really slippery, and I really wanted to do a rolled hem and use my rolled hem foot on that because I thought that would look really slick. But just because it's a gown and just the curve of it, I could not keep the darn fabric in the rolled hem foot. I practiced. I measured it, trimmed it very carefully, and I practiced on the entire piece I cut off, which was about 15 feet of like hem. And I just couldn't get that rolled hem foot. I couldn't get the fabric to stay in the hem. But I could get a decent hem if I use that foot versus my regular, the presser foot I usually use, and just rolled it by hand as I went, kind of finger pressed and rolled it by hand as I went. It looks good. It looks fine. You know, nobody's going to look at it, I don't think, and say, hey, that looks like some home sewing, you know, that looks homemade. So it's fine. It looks good, I think. She hasn't tried it on, though, which is making me a little nervous because it's Friday night and her prom is Sunday. Sunday? What the heck is with proms this year? Jackson's prom is on a Friday and the girls' prom is on a Sunday. Prom should be on Saturday because you need all day to get ready and take photos and then go to the prom, go have your fancy meal and go to the prom and then recover on Sunday, right? Who? Why? I don't know. What is life? I don't get this. But anyways, dresses are done. They look great. I haven't been all that productive this week, to be honest. A lot of the stuff that's been on my channel the last couple of weeks have been pre-recorded, including the marker reviews, the Arteza marker reviews. Those I posted Monday. I posted the first one on Monday because, I don't even know if I mentioned this because this is, like I said, the third time I've tried to record this. So I don't even know what I've said and what I haven't said. I'm going to try not to repeat myself, or I might miss complete stories that I'm planning on telling. Not that I have anything to say, because it's one of those weeks. So Monday, I filmed the Arteza Everblend Ultra review. They were a new version of an older marker that they had, and they're really expensive when they came out. They changed the color numbering system to be very similar to Copic. And I was very curious to see if the ink's any different because they were claiming that the ink is different, it's much better, it's a better marker. I thought the old marker was good, to be honest. So I was like, really? What do you need to improve here? Your old marker's fine. Unless you're putting a brush tip on this, I don't see the point of, you know, I do like their coloring. Their new coloring number system is much more logical. Their old one was totally made no sense. Their namings and numbering system was just very random, it seemed like. So I'm like, oh, that's a pretty big improvement. But as far as the marker appearance and usability and shape and everything, I thought it to be very comparable. And then they came out with the brush markers, and I contacted the person who used to always contact me from Arteza, and I guess she had been let go, or she quit or something, I'm not sure, but there was a new person, and so I was asking her questions about the brush markers, and she's like, well, let me send you a set. And so she sent me one of the older sets. I mean, not older sets. She sent me one of the bullet and chisel sets. And so I let her know that that's what they sent, not the brush, but that's all right because I'm going to compare it with the old one because I know some people were curious as to what the difference between the Everblend Ultras were from the regular Everblend. So I thought that would be a really good comparison because it would be apples to apples. I could compare the ink, I could compare the color names to other color names, even though the numbers are different, see how close they are. So that way, if you already had the original set, you could just kind of write down the names and the numbers and kind of transcribe them to the new color system and then be able to take advantage of that blending system so that you're not feeling the need to buy this new set of markers that's more expensive. And when I let her know, she's like, oh, I'm so sorry, we'll send you those other ones as well. So I did the review of just the Everblends and Everblend Ultras, the apples to apples comparison, and then after I filmed that, it was like the next day, the brush ones came, and so then I did an update with the brush ones, and I was working a few weeks ahead, so I had already filmed that first video, and so I filmed the second video, and I surmised that the brush tip, because everyone's wondering, what are the brush tips? Are they the foam rubber nibs like Copic and Blick Studio and Spectrum Noir and Altenew and Art and Fly use, or are they the compressed fiber nibs like all the other markers use? And if they're the compressed fiber nibs, are they reversible so that you can flip them around if they start to get worn and get more life out of them and, you know, get the full marker's ink's worth out of them or not? And so I put them through their paces, and to me it seemed like they were compressed fiber because when you color for a while, you know, they take a while for the ink to how do I explain this? So you're coloring with your marker, and the ink has to come from the pad in the center of the marker into the nib. And sometimes you're coloring a lot. It just takes a second for the marker to recharge, right? So the tips on compressed fiber nibs will tend to get a little bit lighter when they're, after you color for a bit and you're waiting for the ink to recharge. So I did notice that, and they were also just stiffer than other foam rubber nibs that I've used. And so in the video, I said I suspect they are compressed fiber nibs and not foam rubber nibs. But after my first video aired, a bunch of you guys in the comments were like, on their website, they say they're the foam rubber nibs. So I'm like, oh, do they? So I went to the website to confirm that, and that's what they said. And so it's like, well, I said in my review that I thought they were compressed fiber, so I need to record a just kind of like a preemption on my video, just to say, listen, this was my theory that they're compressed fiber. They say they're foam rubber. And then I compared them against all the other foam rubber nibbed markers I had with similar colors. Or I used all the other foam rubber nibs that I had, and I just tried to use my most similar colors and do comparable blends and do them side by side and figure out what's going on. Are these actually just a stiffer rubber nib, or what the deal is? Honestly, I'm not sure. They did blend well, but they just felt like a compressed fiber nib to me. They were more flexible than, say, the Ohuhu nibs, but they're not reversible. I did pull the nibs out and compare them. I really did put them through a lot of tests and through the paces. They still seem like they could be the compressed fiber, but they are a little more flexible than my Ohuhu. Anyway, I needed to put like an 8-minute like preemption with some demos and examples, just so I was completely fair, because I don't want to mislead anybody either way. I don't want to mislead somebody into buying something or mislead somebody into not buying something because I was wrong, basically. So I just want to put that out there. This is what they say. This is what I think. You guys can decide. So so I did that this week. Other than that, I just did some sketching in my this sketchbook here. I posted my watercolor video late, but that's what we did. It's actually pretty easy. What I want to do, I think, in this book is some flowers, wildflowers, because I really love sitting outside in the summer and painting, and I'm just feeling like I need to recharge. Is that the right word? I don't know. I feel like every other sat chat, or at least 2 videos a month, I'm complaining about fighting past burnout and how to push through burnout and, you know, knock down that burnout, push through creative block. And I feel like I've been really kind of pushing through burnout and creative block for the past 3 or 4 years, and I do manage to make stuff happen, but a lot of times I'm very disappointed in the type of work that I'm making. I'm not liking it, and I think I need to try a different strategy, because what is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over, but expecting different results, right? That is the definition of insanity. I'm making myself insane by doing this. And like, there's so many times where I'm just like, I'm just scraping the bottom of the barrel. I am just like, the well is dry. I'm like trying to squeegee out some dregs of creativity. And creativity, the more you use it, the more you get. But if you don't take time to fill that bucket, like if everything you make is to be filmed, if you're being watched every time you're trying to create something, and it's my own fault, I'm not blaming anybody else, I'm not blaming YouTube, I'm blaming myself. It is me. I am responsible for my lifestyle choices. But when you're forcing yourself to come up with a product every time you create, then you're not filling the creative well. You are just taking from the creative well, and eventually you run dry. So working in the sketchbook, working outside, I can't film when I'm outside, so that will force me to be creative. See, why do I have to force? I'm always like, you know, I will force myself into submission. I'll force myself to be creative. I'll force myself into those skinny jeans. I will force. What is wrong with me? I don't know. I probably need a therapist and not a stamp show. But although I do feel like there's some certain therapy to going to a stamp show. But anyways, you hear that? My friends are they're posting good stuff. I gotta see that. I'm so nosy. I'm looking forward to that. I think we're gonna try to do a Zoom and hang out that way. That'll be nice. Oh, and this is that little watercolor palette I mentioned last week, the one that looks like a cell phone that I did the chives with. So I'm gonna play with this a little bit more. I will review it. It'll be a few weeks. So yeah, I'm thinking about maybe taking a bit of a break. I didn't do much this week other than recording the preemption or I should say I didn't do much for work for the channel other than just like the basic maintenance and admin and recording that chive tutorial and recording the preemption. I also actually recorded this, which came out pretty cute. I just turned the camera on. I wasn't like really, this like little sketch here. I just did like a 5-minute sketch here just to kind of blow off some steam. But I kind of like how that came out, and I did record it, so I'll probably voice it over at some point. But yeah, I think I need to just, I just need to explore and create and not worry about how it's going to come out and how it's, if it's going to be on YouTube. Because, you know, in the summertime, you know, views are down on my channel in the summertime. My audience is about 85% adult women. So a lot of them are traveling with their families. They've got their kids or their grandkids home from school. That's taking up their time. They want to be outside, especially if you're in a temperate climate, you want to be outside. And so they're just not watching YouTube, or they're not watching my channel. Maybe they're watching camping videos or something else. And also I feel that since the pandemic is winding down and people are able to get out and be with people, there's not as much need for my videos. I'm definitely seeing the sat chats get a little less popular. And I mean, people should be out with people. I don't blame anybody for wanting to be out and seeing real people. Do you see that ad for extra gum? That, like, it's so cute. It's like everyone's just kind of like waking up from the pandemic fog and they're able to go out and see people. It is so cute. Oh my gosh, I just saw it today. That will probably play right now because I just mentioned it, but it is so, it's adorable. But yeah, everyone's coming out of this kind of like the pandemic coma, and they want to see people, and I think that's great. I think we need it. I definitely have felt very isolated, and actually even before the pandemic, working from home is isolating, and especially when you're someone who just forces themselves to work all the time and lets everything else kind of fall by the wayside, or lets their, you know, their friendships and their, you know, well-being, I guess. I don't know. I mean, not that I can complain because I've got you know, people out there laboring at hard jobs, and I've got this ridiculous job that's pretty fun. You know, I shouldn't be complaining. So it kind of like, it also kind of really annoys me that I have any sort of creative burnout, because people would kill for this job. You know, you get to hang out at your house and make crafts all day and paint all day. I mean, stop whining, Lindsay. I know. I am as irritated with myself as you are, probably more so, because I live in this brain all the time. I know that. It's like, oh, what's my problem? I don't know. Where was I? I actually made a list because I knew I was going to get sidetracked, because I was sidetracked with everything. And yeah, I'm just like, yeah, I think I mentioned a lot of things, but anyways, I'm trying to actively make friends and nurture the friends that I had. I had a lovely lunch with an old friend of mine, Heather. We used to work together at the senior center. She worked in the admin, and I was the art director. And it was so nice to see her. You know, she's doing great. It is so nice to see your friends and they're doing great, you know. Isn't that, you know, and honestly, she's like one of these people, she has not changed a bit. Oh my gosh, she looks just the same. You know, you never know. You're going to see somebody that you were friends with in high school or college, and you might not recognize them, right? Oh, she looks the same, you know, and it's so, I'm just cute as a button. And, you know, it's nice. I like to see people succeed. I like to see people doing well. And also, when the kids were little, you'd always go to their sports practices, and, you know, you'd hang out with other parents, and you'd make these friendships, and you just take them for granted because you just always go see them Saturdays all day long in the gym, and you take it for granted, and then you run into them and you realize you haven't seen them in a year, and it's like, oh my gosh, I really enjoyed talking with you, and I enjoyed your friendship. Why haven't I made an effort to, like, you know, call you up? You know, why is it so hard to be like, you know, hey, want to be friends? You know, we have similar interests. Our kids are the same age. We're going through the same stuff. Let's be friends. Why do I feel like such weirdos when we say that? You know, I'm going to be a weirdo. I encourage you to be a weirdo. I think we all need to be weirdos and go up to people and say, hey, I like you. Let's be friends. You know, because if we don't, who's going to? Nobody's going to do that because people think it's weird. Maybe we have to be the lone weirdos that start the trend, the let's be friends trend. Oh boy, yeah. People are going to think I'm so strange. But why is it so hard, you know, for a 45-year-old woman to walk up to somebody and be like, hey, let's be friends, you know? I think we need to do that. I think we all need to do that. We need to do that more. Because I think our generation is having a harder time with it. Because, like, I even think back, because I was talking to Heather about the senior center, and it's like, that was such a great place because People met with their friends, they played bridge, they, you know, shot pool, they took art classes, they took yoga and Tai Chi, and they, you know, they cared for their community and their well-being. And I just feel like we are a generation that is losing that community spirit. And it's really sad, especially coming out of a pandemic. It's like, it's kind of weird to like be around people. It's like, I think we need to break through the weirdness and say, hi, my name is Lindsay, let's be friends, you know? And I bet that there are a lot of people that will just be so relieved that somebody asked them to be friends, because they're probably also feeling the same isolation that you are. And, you know, people are what's important. So we need to be with people. We need to be friends, you know, we need to make friends. And I know, gosh, is this a bunch of hippie woo-woo or what? You didn't come here for that. I don't know what you came here for, but probably not that. It's the show about nothing, folks. But yeah, I'm gonna try to be better about that. I saw another friend that we have, our sons were in Cub Scouts together, but they have different interests there. They don't hang out together anymore, but her daughter is younger than my daughters, but it was the end of the year softball thing, and they had the varsity and JV together, and her daughter's in JV. She's only a freshman. But it was like, oh my word, Amy, I haven't seen you in forever. Let's be friends. Let's go have a drink sometime. Let's, you know, women need to stick together. You know, men do too. Now, I think men have a hard time making friendships as they get older as well. I think it's challenging for all of us, because we don't want to like say, hey, let's be friends, and then them say, get away from me, crazy weirdo, because I'm sure I'll get some of that. But I think it's worth the rejection to try. And if people think you're a desperate, crazy weirdo, oh well, at least you know. At least you tried, right? I mean, hey, well, that's it. So anyway, so if I go a few days without a video, don't worry, I probably haven't fallen out of my kayak and drowned. I'm probably just, you know, taking some mental health time and hopefully filling that creative bucket so I can bring you something better, because I'm really just kind of disappointed in the type of crap I've been trying to pass off lately for the past couple of years, and I want to be better. I want to be worth watching, and my analytics show that many people don't think I am. So yeah, here's to being better, here's to making friendships, and here's to living our best lives, because we deserve it. We do. Thank you guys for watching. If you're still around, I do appreciate it. I really appreciate you. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, enjoy life, and we'll see you next time. And if I don't see you next week, it's because I'm doing something else, but I'm still around. Who knows? I'll be unpredictable. Till next time, guys, happy crafting.